So here's the latest around Bryson Stott that we found out from 2024. Now, Dave Dombrowski did tell our very own Jim Salisbury, love that Jim is down there getting all the updates, that Bryson Stott was dealing with a sore elbow for most of 2024. And he also said, according to Dave Dombrowski, that the elbow issue did impact Bryson Stott's ability to drive the ball. And him and Rob also told Jim that they expect Bryson to improve offensively in 2025. Now, as we know, and I know you guys mentioned in the chat, Bryson Stott was one of the guys that down the stretch you could not count on. You know, when you look at the NLDS specifically, but even those final months of the season, we saw a struggling Bryson Stott. And we even wondered and saw him at times actually get platooned. Him and Edmundo Sosa were splitting some time. We wondered if maybe his role was too big for him. He wasn't ready to be an everyday second baseman. We did see him so up and down, and the inability to drive the ball. His average exit velocity was 87 miles per hour. And it was the previous 2 seasons around 88.1 miles per hour in 2022 and 2023. His hard hit rate dropped. His exit velo dropped. His hard hit rate was at a career low, 30.8% in 2024. So now hearing he was dealing with a sore elbow, it makes me a little bit more understanding of what was going on. But I raised that point with a question, Tyler. If Bryson Stott was dealing with a sore elbow, which maybe could not heal quickly enough, there was, sometimes there are those injuries that you just need an off season to heal, and I get that. Seeing how he was struggling with his exit velo, his hard hit rate, would you have scaled him back even more? I mean, I don't think an IL stint was necessary, but now I'm wondering kind of if you're Dave and Rob and you know Bryson Stott's dealing with a sore elbow, he's struggling. He's not Bryce Harper. He's not a guy that you can trust. Like, Bryce was dealing with an injury as well. You kept him out there because you know you can still get something out of Bryce Harper. He can battle through it. Bryson Stott is not Bryce Harper in that same vein. Now I'm kind of wondering, well, then why did we keep going to him so much? It actually makes me ask a few more questions around him being in the lineup as much if he was openly dealing with a sore elbow.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you one of those questions that as a former sports talk radio host, I used to hate because it it didn't breed conversation at all.
But
my question is, what's the alternative? And I hate
Edmundo Sosa.
But you saw in spurts down the stretch, Edmundo Sosa was not good in the second half of the season. He was excellent when he filled in for Trey Turner.
I raise you, if you go with Edmundo Sosa, other than
right
him,
off of him playing from Trey Turner, maybe you have a continuation. But like you saw in the second half of the year,
just to give Stott a chance to rest and get
sure,
healthier.
I mean,
maybe in those initial games from Sosa, you're not giving great productivity. Although I thought he was fine at stretches. You at least would be able to give Bryson Stott time to rest, which now when Stott comes back and he's healthier, maybe you do get a bump in his hard hit rate and his exit velocity. So I think short term, it might not be great for results, but long term, you might have had a healthier Bryson Stott come September and definitely maybe even October.
So I think that it comes down to, like, Sosa's numbers were plummeting towards the end of the season, and I just don't think exposing him to becoming an everyday player again would have just made it worse. His whiff rates were going through the roof. His strikeout rates were raising, month by month. The month and a half that he gave the Phillies in the spell of Trey Turner was more than any of us could have asked for. You and I talked about it back in May or June. We did a show where what Edmundo Sosa was doing was allowing the Phillies to bring Trey Turner back at a pace that was acceptable for both him and for the team. But I think that, towards the end of the season, Sosa was not particularly good. Now, Stott wasn't good either offensively, but I think they were limited in the value that they were going to get from Edmundo Sosa or from more appearances and more plate appearances from Cody Clemens or Weston Wilson shifting over to play some second base or whatever the combination of players was going to be. I just don't think the value was there, especially knowing the fact that even despite the fact that offensively Bryson Stott was not very strong last year, his defense was still there. He still was a Gold Glove caliber defender.
Yeah.
He wasn't as good as he was 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, there was legitimate merit for him to win the Gold Glove at second base. Last year, he was nominated. Now, nobody on the planet was going to beat Bryce Turang, but, he ended up winning the Platinum Glove in the National League. But, I think that the defensive metrics were there. The base running metrics were there. to keep him in the lineup, even with the offensive struggles, especially when there was a right-handed pitcher on the mound. You talked about like the exit velocity, the hard hit percentage, the barrel rates, they were all low, and they were. One of the things that we've talked about plenty is his bat speed. He was in the 7th percentile in bat speed last year. He's even with a healthy elbow in 2023, which was a much better year for him. His bat speed, while not like calculable, like at least on the Baseball Savant's metrics, because they just really started it this year, you could see his bat drags through the zone. He's long to the zone when you want to be long through the zone. His bat drags to the zone a little bit more than you would like. And his rookie year, he chased a lot of high fastballs. And his sophomore season last year, you could tell he was laying off that stuff. And it's why he was so productive with 2 strikes, because he was forcing pitchers, even with 2 strikes, to either throw something in the zone, or he was able to use his bat-to-ball skills to kind of flick something into the outfield or drive it down the line when it was a breaking ball down in the zone. He excels with pitches down in the zone. He does not excel with pitches up in the zone, and that's in part because his bat speed's in the 7th percentile.
Yeah.
When you're not hitting the ball hard and your bat speed lags, guys are just going to take you up the zone. Yeah. And you saw it, especially in the second half of the season. He was swinging and missing a lot at pitches up in the zone. He was swinging and popping up a lot at pitches up in the zone. And I think it had to do in part because of the elbow, but it also had to do in part because of the bat speed. It's not a quick bat to the zone. I don't know if it ever gets any more than the 7th percentile. If he gets it into like the 15, 18, 20 range, I think you've got a vastly different hitter because guys won't be able to challenge him the same. But I think that, the injury paired with the fact that his bat is it's long to the zone, I think played a big part in his lack of success this year.